If it's not, it will be a little. My MC is not censored. Go to you.
Yeah, you good.
Huh? Yep, 30 seconds left. All right, everybody's on the timer. You're on timer, bro. Everybody's on
What
timer.
makes you think that I wouldn't pay attention?
Because I've been with you twice.
What?
So everybody be on a timer. I'm gonna have my phone set backwards, and I'll raise my hand. Steve's gonna raise his hand when there's 30 seconds. I'll do the best I can. I ain't a pro, so give me a break. All I can ask. I'll control it. I'm not getting the hard ass. You know me, buddy. Ready. All right, everybody would take a seat. We're going to start this pretty quick. I'll give some instructions, and then we'll move forward. All right, everybody, grab a seat. We're going to get this going. Got a few instructions for everybody that the nominating committee would like me to discuss before we start this. First of all, let's thank our nominating committee. They're right here. We've got Sue King, Gail Acker, Stanton's not here, Jaime Torres, and Steve Shula. First and foremost, we're going to go over a couple of things that we're not going to ask questions because not everybody's covered. We're going to go over, there will be no questions over covenants. Come on, a little louder. Anyway, just kidding. Anyway, all the candidates get 2 minutes to introduce themselves and why they're running for the board. And I will have a timer. So hopefully you can get your information in within 2 minutes. During answers, the nominating committee will be off the side accepting questions. They're right here. If you have paper on your table with pencils, put it in the air. Let us see it. We'll bring it to the table. If you have a specific person you would like to ask a question to, please state it. Put the name on there. We will select one candidate to answer a question, allowing 2 minutes for their response. So at this point, I think we just want to go ahead and start introducing the candidates. No particular order. We're going to start from left to right. That'd be my left. We're going to start with Terry Schaefer. Not your left, my left. Thanks, Scott.
Test, test. My name is Terry Schaefer. I'm running for the board because can everybody hear me? Okay, good. I live here full time in Alto. I had the privilege of serving on the board of directors 13 years ago, of which 2 of those years I served as the president, and I still am rerunning again. So if you have a psychiatrist, a good one, I'd appreciate any referrals. But no, the nominating committee a couple of months ago reached out to me and asked me if I'd considered, and I was extremely honored to be here. And we've got a great group of people. There's some years, as you know, if you've been here for a while, you can't get 3 people to run. You got crickets chirping in the room, so that most likely means that there's a lot of people that are concerned about the direction of the club. So anyway, that's why I'm running, and I appreciate your support. But we got a great group of people. So, and special thanks to the candidates as well as the board of directors for even allowing us to have this venue. So, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Next, we'll do Elaine Wedgeworth.
Elaine Wedgeworth. I've been a member here for 9 years, full-time for 7. The reason I'm running, I've been asked several times, and I've said I was too busy playing golf, being out on the courts. But this year I was really concerned about our financial situation, and I thought it was time to offer my background and my experience to help the club get over this period. The second reason is I've been a little disappointed with how the membership and the board of directors and the employees seem to have a elevated sense of conflict. And my training has been in mediation and conflict resolution, and I think I would like to tackle that problem too. This is a group of people that are volunteers that do the best they can with what they have, and maybe we may need to look at a CPA firm that specializes in country clubs to see if there's areas that we need to be cutting back or doing other things, because we're asking a lot of these people, and obviously we've got several experienced people in the financial area, but I also want to address the tone of how we're operating in this very highly charged environment.
Elaine.
Hello, I'm Jasper Riddle. I have a Noisy Water Winery here in town primarily, so a lot of you might know me from that. And I'm still questioning why I'm running for the board of directors. No, that's just really a joke. I have a sizable amount of assets here in the area in Lincoln County and in Ruidoso, and in this club and in what happens in this club impacts me directly and indirectly. On top of that, I live here full time. I'm raising a family here. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and my wife is actually pregnant and due with another little girl here this month. So what happens to Alto Country Club is extremely important to me, and to my family, and to my businesses, and to the people I employ in this area. It's a big impactful part, and it can continue to be, and I hope I can help direct that into a good position. The second reason I'm running is I was voluntold by my wife. She got on the House committee a couple months ago, and she said, Jasper, I know that boards are something that you've been trying to be selectively running for, but I think it'd be good for you to get involved because there could be some things you could do to help. And that's what I'm looking to do. I think you have a great team. I echo the sentiment of before that you have a great committee here. The folks that are running potentially for your board, you're going to be in good hands with any of them. And that's been made transparently clear to me just the other day. So I'm excited about that as a member myself. But my hope is I can help move things in the right direction, especially as we're picking our next crew and our next GM. I believe that to be something that I might be a valuable asset in. So thank you all.
Thanks, Jasper. Rick Durr.
How y'all doing today? Don't y'all wish y'all were up here with us? My name is Rick Durr. I am not a full-time member. Run a business in West Texas. We have a cotton farm, cattle, run a little bit of cattle. And really, to be honest with you, why I'm up here is because I lost a bet to suing Gale. So I just wanted to get that out in the opening. No, all laughing aside, I have seen some things that I don't necessarily agree with. Whether I can change that or not, I don't know. But I run a multi-million-dollar business in West Texas, and we're very, very successful. We're expanding our dealership into Dallas-Fort Worth. So with that being said, I'm a good choice. I know somebody's going to come up eventually and ask me if I'm going to be here at every board meeting. I'm going to be transparent as possible. I will not be physically at every board meeting, but I will be here via Teams or whatever they have. With that being said, thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Donnie Archibald.
Afternoon. My name's Donnie Archibald. My wife and I, Laura, we have been up here for about 5 years, and the saying goes, we got here as soon as we could. Last January, we became full-time. And throughout our whole life, we've stepped up and done what we could for our community. And I was in the same boat as Rick. Gail and Sue came to me, and first instance was no. But Laura and I talked about it. I talked to several friends, and they said I'd be a good fit. You know, I do not have business background, but I made decisions every day I went to work. I managed about 800 people in the city of Houston. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to advocate for the members. I think we need somebody that's going to advocate for them, and that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Donnie. Mr. Helmke.
Thank you. I'm Dave Helmke. I was the finance officer at some Texas public school districts. The last one, Big Bernie. Most of the school districts that I went to, when I went there, they had a financial mess. It took me a while to get some of them straightened up, but I did it and did it well. I can tell you that if you come to my offices, you weren't going to be told that they were too busy to help you. You weren't going to be told that you couldn't see a certain document or you couldn't copy it and take it with you. We were very open, and I think that's one of the problems we've had here. I think there's been a real effort to not keep the membership well informed. Last year, I ran for the board. I wanted to help. I don't know that I could have forestalled what took place. I have an idea about this year how to help. I am not a great public speaker. I admit that. I feel very passionately about the club and getting people involved. I've seen, I think the last few years, too many passive board members. I intend to be an active board member. Some businessmen, some club managers resent that. They say, oh, we don't want anybody getting into our business. But I think they need to help, and we need to operate in a more open manner. Thank you.
Mr. Gray.
Hello, my name is Randy Gray. Thank you all for taking time out of your days to join us here and help understand the candidates that are desiring to become a part of the operations of your club. My background is I have a degree in accounting. I had my own private practice for 25 years. I serviced medium-sized businesses with tax preparation, compilations, monthly reporting, and financial advisement for those types of individuals. From that point on, uh, I formed my own company and went to work for myself. And at this point, that company is still in operation, and my daughter is fulfilling most of my roles in that business. But the reason that I wanted to participate in the election for the board was that being on the finance commission and understanding some of the things that go on in the internal part of the club, I felt that I could be of benefit to the board of directors to help them better understand and make fully informed decisions for the benefit of the membership. We've got a tremendous board out there and a tremendous desire to make this family successful. And with your help, I'd like to be part of that.
Thanks, Randy. Gary McIntosh.
Thank you all for being here. My name's Gary McIntosh. I have been here in Alto for just under 3 years, but I've been a part-time resident of Ruidoso twice over the years, for totaling about 15 years that I've lived in Ruidoso. I'm a CPA. I've been in public practice for 55 years. I'm partially retired and winding down. I came to Alto because a lot of friends told me about it, and I loved being here, and so bought a home here a little less than 3 years ago. I love this place. I think I have a lot to offer. My prior experience includes food and beverage and food distribution businesses, a lot of different things. But my CPA background, I believe, will add a lot to the board. And I've worked in a lot of industries and dealt with a lot of controversy over all of those years. And so I believe I've got something to really offer to this board, and I want to do whatever we can do to help the club regain its financial stability for the benefit of all of us that are members and homeowners in this community. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. So we're going to go with the first question that the nominating committee has given me to ask y'all. Each of y'all will have 2 minutes to respond. If you need me to repeat it, just ask me when you get to it. In no certain order, I'll just pick one of you to start with. Will that be okay with y'all? Sure. Perfect. Have you reviewed the financials and the town hall presentation to the extent that you fully understand the implications of the board asking for the dues increase? Elaborate, Mr. Helmke.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of the dues increase that was proposed. About 6 months ago, I gave a brief outline drawing to Mr. Fox of how I thought we could make it through this year without something quite that drastic. I've studied our existing financials. We've got a problem. The current budget for operations, we come up short less than $100,000. Now, that's only for the big time initiation fees. So we can get through that. We've got to get past the amount of money that we had to take from this year and cover up the deficit last year. I think that's manageable. We probably will have to use some of the initiation fees to do that, but I think it's possible. the approach that has been suggested removes a lot of accountability, and it doesn't require us to look at the expenses. I could talk about this topic all day. Okay, I'm sorry. I could talk about this topic all day. As I said before, we need to make up for the money that we had to use to bail out last year. It's a fair amount of money. We need to restructure the debt this year, but we could pull through this year, I think. We don't need another fire, of course. Last year, we lost at our restaurants $1,640,000 at the 3 restaurants. That's unacceptable. Some of it may have been due to the fire. We have not seen a comprehensive report on the fire damage and how much the insurance reimbursed us for that. But I think it wasn't that bad. But we need to look at that. We budgeted a loss this year at Kokopelli, our budget, $1.25 million. Oh, so I think that with some help from our new members, that we can make it through this year pretty good shape. Now, it may turn out that something else could happen. We may have a problem, but I don't think this approach is a correct one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Helmke. Let's pass it over to Mr. McIntosh. Do you need me to repeat it, sir?
No, sir.
Got it.
Thank you. I have studied the financials. I listened to the presentation in the town hall. I believe that if you take a look at budgeting a $90,000, which we have a $90,000 deficit to start with, and relying on the transfer fees and the sale of the property, while that can work, it might possibly increase our reserves. The biggest likelihood is that we're in the same boat next year. A year from now, we're budgeting a $90,000 deficit from operations. We lost, as Mr. Helmke said, a lot of money last year. Now, the fire clearly had an impact on that. I don't think financially that you can just kick the can down the road. I really believe that going into this right now and assuming that the budget process is right on target and we're going to get exactly the number of transfers this year and everything else, and we're going to get the sale of all of those properties. The number of properties for sale in Alto right now seems to be large. And so I don't know how that process will go and whether we will get the amount of transfer fees, but we're counting on those transfer fees and that kind of income being $2.5 million in order to pay the debt and provide reserves. My history is not to rely on that big of a question mark. And so my belief is that we have to do some things to specifically look to the future to increase the financial stability. And that's what I'm hoping for. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Elaine Wedgeworth, do you mean to repeat it or you good? Got it. Thank you.
Not to be repetitive, but I think the presentation that I looked at and the financials I looked at shows that our operating expenses have increased dramatically over the last year or two. You cannot acquire a Kokopelli golf course, which everybody wanted. You can't acquire the fitness center, which everybody voted for, without incurring additional operating expenses. And instead of assessing the members at that time, when you acquire a major capital asset like that, we chose not to. The vote went out saying, do you want it? Not. And so we depleted a lot of our reserves when we acquired those, capital assets, which I think everyone agrees is a good thing. But I think that put us in a position to where our reserves did go down. As far as the dues increase, it seems clear that we need a dues increase. The cost of living has gotten out of control. We've not kept up with it. We have extra facilities that we now have to manage. We haven't kept up with that. I'm not clear from the presentation as to the dollar amount. I know they probably ran models to say, you know, if we collect this much, we'll be able to cover that. I do know their plan is to build our reserves back up. So I think in that $100 is probably money to meet operating expenses, but they also probably planned on building our reserves out of that amount. Was that a hand up that I'm done? Oh, I saw your hand up and I didn't feel like 2 minutes, but how many seconds?
About 30.
Oh, okay. So where was I? So to answer the question, yes, I've reviewed the financials. Yes, I've reviewed the presentation. And I thought it was a very clear, concise presentation, but I would probably want to look a little bit more as to how they arrived at those exact figures. And probably Randy can probably fill me in right now.
Time. So I'll go ahead and repeat the question so it's fresh in everybody's mind. Have you reviewed the financials in the town hall presentation to the extent you fully understand the implications the board's asking for the dues increase? Elaborate. Mr. Archibald.
The answer to the question is yes. I was here on the financials. As I told you, I'm not a finance guy, but I've got a lot of friends and I reached out to them. And that's what I do. If I'm not real clear on something, I'll reach out to somebody that has the experience to be able to give me all the information I need to make a decision. The town hall, I was sitting right back there. I was asking questions on the finances, on the budget or the dues increase. Number one, why do we just have one option, $100? Why do we not have other options available to us? I asked that question, and the answer given to me is the members will never vote for it. Well, how do we know? Unless we ask you, the members. So I'm going to ask questions. I want answers. You know, I think everybody should have an opinion, and we should go to the experienced people in our membership to try to figure out a way to, you know, they're looking at $100. Was $50 enough? Was $150 enough? Was an assessment called for? Would we even approve an assessment? Nobody asked, and I'm wondering why. So anyway, our dues right now, I can tell you right now, they're probably some of the lowest in the nation, but that doesn't mean we need to raise the dues. We need to do a better job of finances. We did the pool, we bought Cocapelli, and we bought La Junta. And
Time. Got to be quicker with me. Sorry,
I don't
guys.
agree with it.
Randy Gray.
Do you want to repeat the question so I don't answer anything that's not asked?
Stop the clock. Have you reviewed the financials, Randy?
Yes.
And town hall meeting presentation to the extent you fully understand the implications of the board asking for the dues increase?
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, you might say this is the horse's mouth. Because as you know or may not know, I am on the Finance Commission, and we did recommend to the board the information that was provided in the town hall. Mr. Steve over here and myself worked together to form that presentation to the best of our ability, and we vetted the numbers through historical trends and historical numbers provided in the financial statements. And we decided to do a visual presentation because we thought the graphic presentation would be the most understood by the membership rather than trying to spout off a bunch of numbers. But I guess to answer the questions, I have reviewed the financial statements and I am familiar with what was presented at the meeting. If you can understand the obligation that the board and the commissions have to the membership, then I would ask that you understand that when decisions are presented to vote of the membership, we feel it is in the best interest of the entire membership, not just the ones that are here part-time or the ones that are here full-time or the ones that are extremely wealthy or the ones that are extremely poor. We have to make a presentation in the best interest to uphold our fiduciary responsibilities to the entire membership. And I hope that you can understand our request for the dues increase, and I hope that you vote in good conscience. Thank you very much.
Jasper Riddle.
For the question, yes, I've reviewed the presentation. I've reviewed the financials. I understand the request and the ask, and it's interesting in its overall premise because there's a lot of good points been made by people up here, and a lot of that is yes, we get a value in comparison to a lot of people paying dues across the nation. Doesn't necessarily mean for us to call to have an increase unnecessarily. There's also a lot of good information that shows that we need this increase to make sure that we have reserves and cash reserves so we're not in a cash poor position to put ourselves into a really bad position in the future. I also like the idea that potentially there's an opportunity to fix operations in a sense that you're not losing money in areas that I don't think you necessarily should be losing money. I come from a food and beverage background. When people tell me country clubs are supposed to lose money to food and beverage and they're shooting fish in a barrel, I laugh at it because that's a pretty captive audience that you have an opportunity to take on. We turn down outside events. There's some things that we don't do that might bring in additional dollars. And so I also think you should go back and canvass your membership and say, hey, if you don't want this increase, would you be open to clubs being open to public at certain times or to outside events or something? And a lot of people are probably going to say no. But I think it's a good justification of this is an alternative option to raise dollars instead of asking you for them. If it's a special assessment, it's a one-time thing because we need to get out of the hole and make a special assessment. If that's something we think we need to move on, or if we're asking for those dues, then what's our long-term plan for those residual dollars once operations return? I would like to see that as well too, because for me personally, I would like to know the direction we're moving. I'd like to know the aim and focus of this club. I'd like to see 5 and 10 and 15 years out, because I would hate to give my daughters a defunct country club like half of them in America when this sort of thing happens, right? Because those are no longer assets; those are liabilities. So to me, it's interesting. But cheers.
Moving right along. Mr. Dirt.
Okay, have I reviewed the financials? Yes. What was the second part today, Chris?
Have you reviewed the financials at the town hall presentation to the extent you fully understand the implications of the board asking for the dues increase?
Right now, we're paying $335 a month. Increase in dues would be $435. Where do we go from there? Is the board going to go in and request what's in the bylaws now to where we go back in and we're going to hit you with 10%, and then the following year 5%, and the following year 5%? That's what I want to know. Do I think it's $100? Do I think $100 is sufficient? I don't know. It could be $50, like some of the other people up here are suggesting. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. And I think we need to look at all the options that we could possibly have out there, whether it's outside tournaments, things like that. Food and beverage should make money. It shouldn't lose money. Buy a $125 bottle of tequila. Hopefully, when we finish that bottle of tequila, there was more than $125 made off of it. It's the same thing with food. It's the same thing. So I want to know what's going to happen if this passes. I want to know alternative sources that we can bring more money into this club. That's what I want to know. That's the answers that I don't know. That's the answers that y'all don't know. So with that being said, there's alternative ways that we can generate revenue. There's ways we can cut expenses. And I think we probably have not gone in and looked at some of those things. Like somebody else said earlier, I think it was Donnie. He said that he goes to his friends. I've got friends up here that have financial backgrounds. I have friends at this club that have food and beverage backgrounds. We got one right here. This guy knows how to make money. If he wasn't making money, he probably would be sitting up here or running a successful business. And that's the same with me. I'm not in food and beverage. I'm in equipment. So, like I said, I don't know what the alternative is, but I'd like to dig a little bit deeper. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Schaefer.
You repeat the question? No. Yes, I've studied the financials. Yes, I was at the town hall meeting. And I also like to thank the board and the finance commission because they've been willing enough to let me sit in on the last 4 or 5 meetings, which probably hasn't been too pleasant for them because I ask a lot of questions. If you don't review the financials, I can tell you that just our payroll and operating expenses from 2019, they were at 6.6 million. Last year, 12.3 million. Just payroll alone, 2019, 3.8 million. Last year, 7.4 million. If you don't keep up with that, you know, it's like your checkbook. You start writing bad checks. And bottom line, our expenses now exceed our income stream. So based on my financial experience, and I worked most of my adult life in a corporate world, you either raise revenue, you cut expenses, or a combination of the both. Other options, I'm not necessarily a fan of an assessment, but assessments can be used in a useful way at country clubs. I see a lot of Century Club members here, and you've been through a couple of assessments in the time of this club. Simple math and $1,000 assessment, we could pay off the pool debt. The houses sell, you pay off La Junta, we're out of debt. Whether that's a viable option for a membership vote, not sure, but it certainly is another option. So that's it.
Thanks, Terry. All right. This question comes from your membership. If you want to answer it, raise your hand. Sucker. Just raise your hand. This is just the board is going in a different direction. Raise your hand if you have an understanding of what this means. This is to y'all. Raise your hand high so you understand that the board is going in a different direction.
Do we understand it or we don't know what it is?
The board is going in a different direction. It's just raise your hand if you have an understanding of what this means. That's not my question. Are you for this to y'all, to the candidates? Are you for or against a homeowner retaining their property right to rent their home as a short-term rental / long-term rental? For or against? Hand up if you're for. Higher. Those are for property owner rights, is how I read it. Are we taking comments? Elaine, grab the mic. Are you for or against homeowner retaining their property right to rent their home as a short-term rental or long-term rental?
Okay, I think this is a perfect example of where 50% of our membership totally against short-term rentals. 50%, they did an informal poll, I think, a while back, wanted to retain the right to do that. I think this is an excellent example where it's not an either or. I think you need to examine, why do people not want rentals? It's the noise, it's the garbage, it's the inconsiderate, neighbors. There's a way to deal with that by working through the zoning district. They have rules and regulations, they have penalties. We could hire someone to show up, because if the sheriff department is actually dealing with an emergency, they're not going to respond to your call about someone playing music. I think that's part of the problem. I think we could get to a solution to satisfy the problems with short-term rentals without taking people's rights. And New Mexico has very strong property rights. The court cases that I've looked at, you're probably going to lose taking away someone's rights. Even if you tell them you can have 10 more years of it, you're still taking away a property owner's rights. So I think that's an example of how I would like to see us approach some of these disagreements without saying yay or nay and getting nowhere. They did nothing.
Thanks for the comment. Anybody else? Donnie Archibald.
I echo that.
So in the covenants, the short-term rental is still there. So if you're voting on the unified covenants, if you're in favor, the short-term rental is still there. We live on each side. We rent. One is managed by Hummingbird Rentals, and Manda came up to us and gave us her card and said, if we ever had a problem with anybody renting one of their properties, give her a call, a personal cell phone call. People on the other side, they never rent it because it's a piece of junk. But anyway.
Tell us how you feel.
Yeah. Hey. But anyway, so, and I'm kind of like Elaine. If you buy a property up here and you're not coming up here and you're not living here full time and you're using it as an investment property, you want to be able to rent it. So I think there's a way to allow them to do that, but also keep the safety and security of our neighborhood as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Donnie. Would anybody else like to comment on short-term, long-term? Moving right along. If elected, forgive me, I'm trying to interpret everybody's handwriting. If elected, would you vote on an outside firm auditing the club? Question. They specialize in CCs. I'm assuming country clubs.
Yes. Yes.
Rick Durr had his hand up. Let's go with Rick.
Okay, in my real job, Monday through Friday, the people that I deal with, 67% of the people that I deal with are in a financial deficit. Okay. With this being said, a lot of these school districts go in and the superintendent looks for another job. The state of Texas has in place to where there is a interim superintendent that comes in and says, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. They already know what their term is. They know it's a 4-month or 6-month gig. So they go in there and they basically, this is where you need to cut the fat. This is where you need to add this. This is where you need to add that. It's another set of eyes looking at the P&L. Okay. So what this question is, there's firms out there that specialize in going in and doing the same thing with country clubs. I think this is a very, very good thing for us to look at going forward, just to help out us from somebody else's eyes.
Thanks. Anybody else want to comment? Mr. Schaefer.
I think it's a good practice in general, every 3 or 5 years or whatever it is, to rotate and put out to bid to all our vendors. If you have the same group of vendors in a situation for an extended period of time, they get pretty lazy sometimes. Competition is a good thing. When clubs go through a management change like we recently have, and this is not the first time that we've had a manager leave this club. I know many of you that have been around have seen that. We've also had a couple of departures from some board members recently. I'm not saying there's anything inappropriate, but it is really a good time for us to seriously consider having this type of audit, independent from our existing auditors, just to come in and to validate for all of us who think
Thank you, sir.
that we're in good shape. So I'd be strongly in favor of external audit. So.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Donnie.
So I agree with both Rick and Terry. First thing we need to do when the new board gets elected is bring in an outside and find out why we're losing the money we're losing, and try to get an idea of why it's happening so we don't make the same mistake over and over and over. Thank you.
One more comment, anybody? Mr. Helmke, real quick.
I believe it was at a finance committee. I believe it was at a finance meeting that this gentleman stood up and gave a very good explanation of what most audits consist of. They're trying to tell you that your bookkeeping has been done according to generally accepted accounting standards. Now, when I hear lay people talk about audits, most of the time they're looking for someone to come in and assess their operations. Most audits are not that. So you can count on spending, I think, a fair amount of money on something that we can do internally. We can evaluate where we've got personnel. Just recently, at one of the meetings, Mr. Blumendahl gave us an organization chart, something we had never had. It was incomplete, but it was a start. So I think there's a good deal. I think of some people, I hate to say myself, but okay. If you've had some experience in financial management and you have a desire to look into some of our operations, I think we can do a good deal of this work in-house.
Great answer, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question is specific for Mr. Terry Schaefer. What do you expect from our next GM and how would you handle the search? Mr. Schaefer. You. Oh, Mike. Now y'all need to start sharing. Sharing is caring.
Why me? Yeah. Whoever asked the question probably knows that I went through this before 12 years ago. So, you know, it's tough. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for this year's board and the new members that come on. And the other day we had an ALGA meet the candidates. I shared the same thing with them. Realistically, by the time you put the search committee together, by the time you send out into the community that you're looking for a position, by the time you bring the candidates in and interview them, by the time that they accept the position, you get the contracts negotiated, they pack up, they transfer from wherever they're here, you find housing. It could be 6 to 9 months. It took 8 months for Mr. Lassiter to get here from the time that we talked to him. So first thing, I would form a search committee made up by the membership and the board. I believe my understanding is that's already been done, but we haven't seen any communication from the board yet. So I'm assuming it's done. And then you don't make any rash decisions. You can't take this one lightly. This is a $12 to $14 million operation. We don't need to be a babysitter for an assistant GM at some club that's trying to come in and, you know, earn his stripes at this club. We need somebody with experience and vet the candidates as best you can.
Great answers. Thank you, sir. This is a yes or no question for 4 specific people. Donnie, Jasper, Rick, Terry. Yes or no? Are you planning to vote for the dues increase? It's yes or no, and you can pass or just yes if you want it. If you don't want to answer, just put your hand in the air. No if you don't want to approve it.
If that's the only option presented, yes.
No.
No.
Oh, it's not me.
Terry Schaefer, all the way down. Hey, I tried to get more mics, but you know we're on a budget.
Is it just a yes or no?
Just yes or no. Would you vote for the increase? Yes or no? That's just.
Can I take
These
the
are coming
fifth?
from your members. You can decline.
I decline.
Perfect. I'm going to ask this question, and we'll go down the road. This is a pretty good one, all right? And I would like, if you don't want to answer, just pass the mic. We're going to start it there since it's with Terry. And I'd just like to go this way if y'all don't mind. Or would somebody want to answer first? Nobody cares? Okay. Question for the candidates. Since you're running for the board of directors, could you please describe your past involvement in other committees, commissions, or club organizations? Give you about a minute apiece if you'd like. This is a pretty good question.
Yeah, over and above the bios that are supplied that everybody's hopefully read. So,
We would hope.
yeah, okay, yeah. I have served in a variety of capacities on boards. I'm currently serving here in the community on the Benito Volunteer Fire Department Fund. See, Glenn, we were in a board meeting yesterday. That I served here at this club for 3 years on the board of directors, of which 2 years as the president. I was on the board of directors for the Texas Mortgage Association of Mortgage Brokers. I was co-chair of the Texas Education Committee for the Mortgage Brokers Society. Those are probably only boards. I also, for a short period of time here, was on the Long Range Planning Committee 13 years ago. Actively involved day to day. I attend most of the commission meetings that I can, even though I'm not an active participant.
Thank you, sir. Elaine?
Was this
This is what is,
commissions in
since you're running
Alto?
for the board, do you want to repeat it, Elaine? Sorry.
Yeah,
Since you're running for the board of directors, could you please describe your past involvement in other committees, commissions, and other club organizations?
club organizations,
Club or-
not beyond.
Club
Okay.
organizations.
For 6 years, I was on the pickleball tennis commission because we did not have one previously. It's kind of a growing area. It's a small percentage of our membership, but they needed some leadership there. So I've been on that. Was the chairman for a couple of years. I was also on the Architectural Control Commission for 4 years. They meet twice a month for about 3 or 4 hours, and I did that for 4 years with trying to get members to help them get their permits when they want to build or expand. I've also been on the Long Range Commission for about 3 years. I'm also the ALPOA liaison to the Long Range Commission. Trying to think if there's any other commissions I've been on, but I try to stay active. I try to make my contribution in that matter, and
Excellent.
I've gotten familiar with a lot of the operations in that regard.
Thank you very much. Jasper?
I currently, I'll start with where I am currently. I'm the vice president of New Mexico Wine and Grape Growers Organization. I've been on that board for a Dick Cheney amount of time. I think a dozen or 14 years or something like that. If you don't know the joke. I also sit on the Wine Institute of America's board for legislative policy. I sit on Congressman Vasquez's U.S. Farm Bill board, draft committee, his task force. I used to sit on Yvette Harrell's task force for the state, so bipartisan there. I was the president of the Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce. I was on the Ruidoso Lodgers Tax Committee for about a half dozen years as well. I sit on the advisory committee for the small business development centers in the state of New Mexico. I've sat on national and state SBA boards as well. Let's see what else. I was in Spanish club in high school. I stole that one. I stole that one from Richter.
Pass it down the road.
It was the French club. So, gotta make it fun, right? After I graduated from Texas Tech with a degree in finance, my first job out of college, I was a tax appraiser for the state of Texas. So that was, how should I say, that wasn't a fun job. But after that, I oversaw the codes enforcement division for the city of Lubbock. So some of these jobs that I've had in the past are dealing with some of the issues that we have here. You know, going back, and I know they were said we weren't going to talk about covenants and all that, but you know,
No.
mowing your grass and all that kind of cool stuff. But going to boards, I've been on homeowners associations in the city of Lubbock. I was on a fraternity. After I graduated, I was on a fraternity board for 30 years. I was on a church board in Lubbock. for a while. So to answer that question, yes, I've been on boards. Just to give you a little bit of my resume, and not to be a wise guy, but what Terry said, it's in my bio, which is on the internet, that I believe is posted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Archibald?
I started in the fire department. We had an EMS caucus. I was chairman of it for about 8 years. Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, I was a division chair for the safety committee for about 13 years. At Walden on Lake Conroe, I was president of the MGA for 4 years and a member of the MGA for 6 years. Here at Alto, I've been on the MGA for the past 3 years. And as of last December, Stan Mathis started an ad hoc insurance committee, and I was part of that committee as well. And also I've stepped in to help a few people write grants for Bonita Fire Department as well. So,
Mr. Helmke?
Thank you. Most all of my experience has been in public education. I've been to literally hundreds of school board meetings. I've helped some of the affiliated groups like the band boosters and the cheerleaders group and whatever other group might be affiliated with education. Usually give them financial guidance and structure. Few times we had people steal from us. Imagine that. Wow. So I have I'm going to take some liberty here. There was a question that was just directed perhaps to Mr. Schaefer about the plans for the new manager. I think a lot of us would like to know what the board feels like they're going to do. I've heard the rumor that we even had some board members resign. We've
Hey,
seen
Mr. Helmke,
nothing
that's
official.
that's not the question. Yeah,
Okay.
the question, I'm just going to give you another
I
second.
answered the question, took a little extra
All
time.
right, good deal.
Okay.
Go ahead, Randy. I won't bite.
I think I remember the question. Working backwards, currently serving my second year term on the Finance Commission. Previous to that, I was the treasurer for the Men's Golf Association. Prior to that, I was on the Architectural Control Committee for Tapatio Springs in Bernie, Texas. Anything else?
No. Are you done?
Unless
Next
you,
question is for you.
next,
Oh, sorry, Gary. After Gary, it's going to go back to Randy.
So I've had a long history of serving on boards and various aspects. I'm currently chairman of the board of the 501c3 organization for the Texas Society of CPAs on education of CPAs. I'm a past chairman of the Texas Society of CPAs. I'm a past member of the board of directors of the American Institute of CPAs, which is a 650,000 member organization. I have served on a homeowners association board in Austin. I have served on numerous boards that are community based and charity based. I'm a past chairman of several charities, and one that I've been on for 13 and a half years that is a charity for underprivileged people, and with about a $4.5 million budget. So,
Thank you, sir. Randy. Next question is directed to Mr. Randy Gray. Why was the dues increase the same for both golf and social members and not a percent of their present dues?
okay. During our evaluation for the increase, we determined that a static increase across the board for the entire membership would be more appropriate than trying to develop some percentage of increase for social or desperado. If you look at the dollar increase, it is the same for all of the membership. It's not just a percentage increase for this, that, or the other. And that was the reason that we had developed just the $1 increase for the entire board. Does that answer the question?
Thank you, sir. This can go to everybody, but this is really for Mr. McIntosh. I think most of us understand and realize that we dug a hole we have to cover and must have an increase. What will be put in place to control future projects and expenditures?
Thank you. Well, first of all, our bylaws require what our dues increases can be. So any future after this year, if this passes or fails, would still be controlled by the bylaws. And to change the bylaws, as I understand it, would take another membership vote. So the board fiduciarily has to follow those guidelines, has to follow those bylaws, and they'll have to make a decision going forward as to whether or not that will be adequate or not. And I would assume that based on that, the board specifically has to do that and will follow those guidelines. I can't imagine that the board would do anything else other than, if that's still not adequate, there might be another vote, and that doesn't stop there from being a vote to lower the dues. So all of that is a possibility. It's all within the existing bylaws that we have.
Thanks, Gary. Would anybody else like to take on this question? Donnie, you want me to repeat it, or you got it? Got it.
So that's one of the questions that I asked. If the dues increase passes, we go up to $5,200 a year. If we go up 5, 10, 5, like we have in the bylaws now, you're looking at 20% on top of $5,200 after the third year. So now we're up to $6,200 for our membership. So in the bylaws, from what I've interpreted and what I've been told, we do not have to go up that 5%. We can go up 1%, 2%, all the way up to 5%. And there is no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to start rumors. So anyway, so right now it's 5, 10, 5. So if we go up 20% over 3 years, a lot of us are looking at $6,200. So,
thanks, Donnie. Rick Durr.
I got a minute.
No, you got a minute. You got 1 minute.
Give me a minute.
You got it.
Okay, so I know I'm probably going to get stoned by my wife because she said this is something that I probably shouldn't talk about. But the thing is, with this dues increase, it's the uncertainty of what will happen afterwards. That's what I want to know. Like Donnie said, you got $100 increase. Right now we're paying $335. I work better on monthly. I'm sorry, but $335 a month is going to go to $435. In the bylaws, it says that we can go up 20% over 3 years. According to what we're talking about, that could be 1% here, 1% here, going up that 20% in that 3-year period. So the uncertainty is what I want to know where we're going to be. So with what we're talking about, that $6,000, we could eventually see that if we don't know what's fixing to happen. And none of us in here know what that is.
Thanks, Rick. Go ahead, Terry.
My comment, and back to my decline. I still haven't seen the ballot yet. I don't know about y'all, so I'm not 100% sure because we've had a history recently of saying one thing and then putting out something else. So I'm not in favor generally of what's being proposed because I know that there's other ways to cut expenses. But until I see it in writing, then so that's the only reason. For all the people that were asking for me to say yes or no, that's that. So I'm not so sure that after we have stopped the bleeding on spending the projects that we've had the last 3 or 4 years and get expenses under control, that there's a need to continually be in that mindset of 20%. It's going to shock some people, and it's been 12, 13 years ago, but there's 5 board members that are here in this room that were on the board. We only had a 2% dues increase. I mean, we didn't need it. We still had projects we funded. Operationally, we were sound. Economy was a lot different. I mean, inflation was different then. But no one can control that in this room. But the mindset of we just have to keep raising 20% to me is insane. So anyway.
Thanks, Terry. Jasper, you got a comment?
Just wanted to use this as an opportunity to clarify as well, because I echo Terry's sentiment that, and so my answer was a yes if it's the only path forward, because I never want to see this club be in a cash poor position to where we can't pay employees and all those good things that happen when people run out of money. And so I never want to see that happen. So if they find that that's the only path forward, but the devil's in the details and we don't have all those details. And so I would love to be able to unpack that further. And if there's another path forward, it's the path I would like to take.
I have a specific question for Miss Lady Wedgeworth. How will your background training be an asset to ACC? What was your role at the IRS?
I had several roles as an agent, an auditor, a manager, but I ended my career with 400 employees in 7 states where our job was to resolve tax disputes. So I'm used to a contentious environment where you have taxpayers not agreeing with the IRS. My employer was the Office of Chief Counsel. My role was to resolve tax disputes because it's expensive for taxpayers and the government to pursue litigation. And so I was pretty hands-on on managing that workforce. You had so many personalities with CPAs, tax attorneys, support people, and my role was really trying to resolve disputes. And that training in tax law, I can interpret legal documents, I can research things to get answers to questions I don't know. I usually reserve judgment until I have all the facts. I'm not a very emotional reactor to things, and I try to do my due diligence as a result of that training.
Thank you, Relene. This one's a little different. Trying to phrase it correctly. Can outside sources away from the club be used to count votes on any issues we have? Candidates, policies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bylaws explain themselves. I'm just putting questions out for people that would like to know. Can outside sources away from the club be used to count votes on any issues we have? Candidates, policies, et cetera, et cetera.
I believe it's a question. It's to ask you if you understand.
If you understand it, that's and understand the bylaws.
It's really a yes or no question.
Next question.
All right. That's your question right there for everybody.
This will be for everybody. So everyone has mentioned club issues. Oh, Jesus. What would you say? What's the club's biggest issue? Eat shit, Chris. What the hell? What would you say is our club's biggest issues? Woody. Sorry. I got to talk to him here in a little bit. What's the club's biggest issues, and who would like it first?
Yeah, I got one. I'll write the questions.
Yeah.
2 issues: communication and the rumor mill. Communication is just like, how many know who's on the search committee? Have we put out an email on the search committee? I know who's on the search committee because I asked, but we haven't put out an email saying we even have a search committee. You know, some of us know, but we don't do enough. We're not transparent enough. And that's the biggest deal. The rumor mill. Folks, we're up here to have a good time. We've got a great place. Yeah, we're in a bad situation right now, but I feel pretty certain we'll get out of that situation with the right leadership. But the rumors, the infighting, I mean, it needs to stop. I'm sorry. And I was a subject of it. So, you know, that's all I've got to say. You know, we're up here to have a good time. Everybody is well, most of us are retired. We're looking to have a good summer, and that's what we need to do.
I'm gonna go right here. I'll go here. Then anybody else that wants to talk on the subject.
Okay, Donnie said it. Transparency. Just putting everything out there, letting people know exactly what's going on. Don't, you know, there was years ago that the state of Texas decided to do the lottery. Now, a lot of y'all remember that because you're as old as I am. And I made a phone call to one of my friends that worked in Austin, and I asked him, I said, is this money that's coming from the lottery supposed to go into schools and help fund school funding? And his response to me was, Rick, it's smoke and mirrors. So number one, transparency. Number two, I said something Wednesday and I got heckled by Jasper, but I got it. I said old money. My dad told me a long time ago, put money back for a rainy day. When Stacy and I joined in 2019, we had money in the bank. Today, in 2025, we don't have 2 nickels. So put money in, you know, be transparent and put money back in the bank.
Jasper, go ahead and comment.
I think one of the things that is problematic that I see is and Terry covered the amount of salaries and payroll and people that we have, but we have a lot of salary people that are not empowered to handle and direct and give directive and handle departmentalization. We have, you have an org chart that's not complete for a $15 million a year business. That's insane. You should have a top-down procedure and protocol. You should have a GM and people underneath them that are empowered to handle day in, day out operations. If you're creating all of these committees, those committees should be empowered to bring back recommendations to the board, and the board should move. And the board shouldn't get caught up in the weeds over what color we should paint the dining room. Okay, that's not a board decision, nor should it be. You should be punctual, you should move, and you should make sure that you're running a healthy organization. And I think if you move in that direction, you're not going to have the problems you have now, because the eyes of your board are going to be focused on what is tangible and what's real, and that's the fiscal hole that we're in, and you clean up things quickly.
Jasper, this next one's for you. Jasper. Oh, I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry, David. No, it's for anybody that wants to. My apologies.
Thank you, sir.
Don't kill the messenger.
Thank you. I got 2 big issues. Somebody had 2. I was in Walmart yesterday, I think, come across an employee. I asked him, who's running the club? Have they been told? He said, no, we haven't been told. So I'm not sure if it's a lack of communication, or maybe they haven't decided yet who's running the club. I was told that they wanted someone new, someone who had well, this was just one person's opinion, that we wanted someone to look at this thing with fresh eyes. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think Mr. Schaefer said it probably takes 6 to 9 months to get, I'm calling him here Superman. We're hoping we hire Superman who could come in and fix all of our problems. We need somebody in the interim who can come in and just keep the place going on a day-to-day basis, who can tell the employees that, hey, we've appointed this person to be in charge. Now, whether it's Mr. Mathis or Mr. Fox or some other member, I'm fine. You know, I don't get to pick it, obviously. But that's a big problem. We need somebody come in here and be in charge for the next several months. And maybe if that person doesn't last but a week or two, and we'll get somebody else, but somebody needs to come do it. I'm going to take a minute, maybe a second, to read from the bylaws. All special meetings of the board shall be open to the general membership. I'm guessing they've had some meetings that haven't been open to the general membership. I don't understand why. They could have a meeting and tell us, hey, we've got a search committee. Nope. I got an email the other day saying my electricity was out. I don't know if it came from North Dakota or where it came from, but it came pretty damn quick. So they could tell us pretty quick, we're having a meeting and this is what it's going to be about. So thank you.
Here you go. No, give it to Randy, please.
I'm going to give it to him.
Do you remember the question?
I don't remember yesterday.
What?
What's your issue?
Oh,
Biggest issue with the club?
a couple of things. Contemporaneous reporting. And from an accounting verbiage, that means knowing as soon as possible what's going on today. Okay? Contemporaneous reporting is not, let's say, a high priority to the back office right now. The Finance Commission next week, probably Monday or Tuesday, will receive financial statements for April. This is the 17th of May. We will review those and have a meeting the following Thursday, which, if we've been keeping count, that's about 7 weeks after the fact that we've either lost more money or lost less money. Okay. Contemporaneous reporting to me means let's develop reports for the management, from the back office information, and for the board of directors, so they will be informed as we proceed to navigate this predicament on a timely basis. I've done one so far, and I presented it last week, and that's an actual to budget comparison of the transfer fees. If you don't know, when we redesigned or asked for a redesign of the budget, we extracted the transfer fees from that budget. So we now just have an operating budget based upon the income from dues, the income from food and beverage sales, and the income from merchandise sales in the pro shops. That would indicate the operations of the club without any nebulous or unpredictable factors from the transfer fees. Okay, so this little report that I put together tells the board of directors what their transfer fees were as of today, because I happened to put one out today, for the month to date, and the accumulated year for the physical performance that we've done in collecting what the management has projected for the annual collection on the transfer fees, which is about $2.5 million. It would be kind of nice to know how we're doing before we get to the end of the year. 10 seconds left. Contemporaneous reporting. And if you did read my answer to the last question that was presented to us, it was ask more questions and expect more answers. Hopefully that will eliminate the rumor fee.
Thanks, Randy. Schaefer, keep it quick. We're running out of time.
Number one priority, we've got to get our expenses and our income in control. Period, case closed.
Amen. Somebody else want to comment? Or sorry, this is just directed at Jasper. What are your thoughts regarding the across-the-board 20% tips, regardless of the service provided?
It's a Interesting premise across the board. I think you have larger problems in food and beverage that should be addressed before you look at tips. However, it is hard to keep staff if you are not getting them to that 20% because they are dependent upon that.
Thank you. All right. We're running a little short on time, so I'm going to kind of run through these real quick. Choose to answer or not. Why should the membership shoulder the burden of the poor decision making of a board/GM? Why should the membership shoulder the burden of poor decision making of a board/GM? Would anybody like to hang themselves?
Well, yeah.
I ask myself that question in the mirror about running for the board. I didn't think this was anybody's responsibility, and I didn't think that this would be a position I'd ever put myself into, nor would I want. But the burden falls upon all of us, unfortunately, though the decisions were made without all of us present.
Amen. Anybody else? Helmke.
Thank you. We're, of course, a country club, but we're also a community and we're residents. And the bottom line is going to fall on us.
Good answer. McIntosh.
Pretty much agree with what Jasper said, but recognizing that this is a community and we have homes and we have a future here that we want to be successful. And so it's on us, like it or not. That's the way a membership organization goes. And so we have to follow through that, and we have to be committed to that.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments? Elaine.
I don't want the membership to lose sight of what a wonderful community we do have and what wonderful amenities we do enjoy. I think it's been mentioned before that our dues in total are very low compared to other clubs that don't have near the facilities that we have. And I think some of the issues were unavoidable, the fire, COVID, etc. Granted, like I said, if I were to choose again how to put out the vote to acquire these expensive capital expenditures, that's the time when an assessment is appropriate on capital expenditures. So you don't take all your reserves to pay off a huge loan. You don't prepay a note when you don't have cash reserves. So that's my take.
Thank you. Terry, this is specific for you. Sorry.
So popular.
You're so popular. And I really don't understand the question, but you may be able to explain it. Can you explain the facility report performed many years ago and whether it should be reinstated?
Who asked the question? No. Whoever asked the question, I'm sure they may be referring to, there were some studies done right after the last general manager had left departure. The board in place and the commissions at the time, we reached out to outside services that were professionals in doing and evaluating country club facilities. We had a facility assessment performed. We had a capital replacement study performed that gave us a short-term, mid-term, and long-term assessment of what it would take based on our existing infrastructure, how much it would cost to replace it, the scheduled time that we should think about replacing it, which gave us some guidance of how the hell are we going to pay for it. And we also had a club benchmarking study done, which compared what we do operationally and financially to other clubs similar in fashion to ours across the country. All those were performed not only for our board at the time, but we thought it would be a good framework for future boards. Somehow I think we might want to revisit looking at those studies again because I'm not sure if we're paying too much attention to them. So
do you
I don't know
feel
if
like
that
you should
answers
reinstate it?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hang on. Huh? Oh, that's fine.
I think those are only as good as if you use them. My degree from college was in community development, and people would have these master plans that they'd spend millions of dollars for communities. and they'd be a paperweight on the new city manager's desk that would never get used. And so if we're bringing one of those in, which are highly valuable, and maybe it's revisiting the one we have and updating it, modernizing it, it's a matter of us using it and making sure the people that are in place know it's to be used, and knowing that that should be the gospel for your moves forward if that's what you're committing to.
Hang on just a second.
Okay, we made a commitment to try to keep this short enough that everyone could try and get their questions in, but not keep everyone here all afternoon because I know you want to enjoy happy hour. We did not eliminate some of your questions just because we're picking on you, and I'll make a couple of comments about that. Some of these questions had to do with the bylaws that are already in place. For instance, there was a question about how you remove a sitting board member, or would you remove a sitting board member, or our bylaws have a very specific policy for how to deal with that, so we didn't want to waste our time in here to do that. There was another question about will your short-term renters be using the club facilities? We also have a very strict policy that almost exclusively prevents the short-term renters from using the club facilities. Those are policies and bylaws that are in effect, and we didn't want to waste anybody's time, but we also want to thank you for sending your questions up. The other thing I want to do is thank all these people for being here, and I'm going to ask that they stick around as long as they can, so that if any of you want to ask them individual questions, you can do that after we adjourn. And I believe Maggie told me that we also have a notary present. She's right back over here in the red shirt, if anybody wants to vote on the covenants while they're here today. Anything else? Thank you all, and let's have happy hour.
Thanks for coming, everybody.